There are things in your house right now that look ordinary, harmless, forgettable. A container in the kitchen, a pot on the stove, a blanket folded at the foot of the bed. Nothing dramatic, nothing expensive. And yet, what if I told you some of the biggest leaks in a person's life do not begin with bad luck, low income, or a missed opportunity, but with one small object quietly leaving the home and carrying something unseen with it? Stay with me, because this is not about fear. It is about awareness. It is about the quiet patterns people ignore until their peace is gone, their money feels cursed, and their house no longer feels like a place of rest. Most people give these things away without a second thought. To a neighbor, to a cousin, to a friend, even to family. They call it kindness. They call it helping. But sometimes what looks generous on the surface opens a door that should have stayed closed. And once that door opens, the loss does not always come loudly. It comes slowly. A bill here, a fight there, a delay, a setback, a heaviness that settles over the home like dust. By the end of this, you may look at your house very differently. And if you have already lent these things out, do not panic. I will also show you how to shut that door and restore peace, protection, and stability to your space. Because yes, kindness matters, but wisdom must lead kindness, or kindness can become a quiet form of self-harm. Maybe you know this feeling already. You work hard, you try to be responsible, you do your part, and still, money does not stay. It comes in, then vanishes. Something breaks, something fails. A sudden expense appears out of nowhere. A repair, a late fee, a medical cost, a school payment, a problem that was not there yesterday is suddenly sitting on your chest today. You lie awake at night doing numbers in your head, moving them around like they will magically change if you stare long enough. You tell yourself, next month will be easier. Then next month comes, and the same pressure returns wearing a different face. That kind of struggle can make a person blame themselves. Maybe I am not disciplined enough. Maybe I am not smart enough. Maybe I am just unlucky. But what if the issue is not only practical? What if your home, the place meant to hold your peace, has been slowly leaking strength because the wrong things have been moving in and out of it? Ancient household wisdom taught that some objects are not just objects. They are containers. They hold memory, intention, atmosphere, repetition, use. They absorb the emotional and spiritual weather of a home. And when those items are passed around carelessly, something of your household goes with them, and something from another household may come back. That is the pattern we are talking about today, not superstition for drama. A pattern, a quiet law of the home, and once you understand it, you will not unsee it. The first thing you should never lend is your salt. Yes, salt. It sounds small, almost silly. It is cheap. It sits in a kitchen cabinet, and most people do not think twice about it. But that is exactly why it is powerful. The most overlooked things often sit closest to the foundation. Salt has long been tied to preservation, covenant, endurance, and the sealing of provision. In many homes, even without people fully understanding why, salt carries the feeling of permanence. It keeps food from spoiling. It sharpens flavor. It turns something flat into something complete. That is why old household teaching treated salt as more than seasoning. It was seen as a symbol of what keeps a table blessed and a home supplied. One older woman once said it this way: you can share bread, you can share soup, you can share cooked food, but do not hand away the salt that seals your own kitchen. If someone needs it, season the food and give them the meal. Better yet, buy them their own as a gift. But do not let your own salt leave the house. Because when people casually pass salt back and forth, they are acting as if the seal on their table means nothing. And the strange thing is, many people who ignore this later describe the same pattern. The house starts feeling drained. Income comes, but it does not stick. Small, steady losses begin. Nothing dramatic enough to blame on one event, just a constant slipping away. Watch closely here, because this is where many people realize they have been opening a door every single week without knowing it. Think about how often people borrow simple kitchen basics: a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, some flour, a little oil, and of all of them, salt feels the most harmless. That is why it is the easiest to dismiss. But old wisdom never measured an object only by price. It measured it by function. What does this item do in the home? What role does it play again and again? Salt sits at the meeting point of food, covenant, preservation, and blessing. It touches the family table. It enters the body. It is part of the act of nourishment. In that sense, it represents continuity. So if you have been lending your salt, the answer is simple. Stop doing it. Replace the container if you want a fresh start. Bring a new one in with intention, set it in its place, and make the decision that what seals your home stays in your home. If someone truly needs help, help generously, but do it in a way that does not create a symbolic transfer of what protects your own table. Give them a full container as a gift if you can. Gifts move differently than loans. A gift leaves with completion. A loan creates an open loop. And open loops are exactly where tension loves to live. This may sound like a tiny adjustment, but tiny adjustments often close massive leaks. Start with the small things. The small things are where patterns hide. And what I am about to share next goes even deeper, because it moves from the table to the fire, from the seasoning to the vessel that feeds the whole house. The second thing you should never lend is your cooking pots, pans, and regular cookware, not the vessels that live in your kitchen and carry the meals of your house. A cooking vessel is not just metal. It is repetition made visible. It has stood in your kitchen through rushed mornings, family dinners, quiet nights, celebrations, recovery meals, holiday food, and ordinary days that still mattered because they kept the family going. Every time food is prepared in that vessel, something more than heat is involved. There is intention, mood, conversation, gratitude, stress, prayer, fatigue, love. The vessel is present for all of it. That is why so many traditions treated cookware as something that absorbs atmosphere. People may laugh at that idea, but anyone who has ever walked into 2 different homes and felt the difference instantly understands it. Homes carry climate. Kitchens carry climate, and the tools that live there are part of that climate. So when you lend your main cooking vessels into another environment, you are opening a channel between 2 homes. The vessel leaves your kitchen, enters another emotional field, absorbs that field, and then returns. Maybe it comes back clean. Maybe it even comes back polished. But clean on the surface is not always clean in what it has been holding. This is why some people notice arguments increase after certain items move in and out of the house. Money tension rises, the home feels sharp instead of warm. Meals feel heavy instead of comforting. The vessel that once served only your family rhythm has now been pulled into somebody else's storm and then brought back to your stove. A lot of people make this mistake out of love. A relative is hosting guests and needs extra pots. A friend is planning a gathering and ran out of pans. Someone says, "We're family," and that sentence is often enough to lower every boundary. But being family does not mean every object in your home should circulate freely. In fact, strong families often survive because they know where love ends and wisdom begins. If someone needs help feeding people, there are better ways to help. Bring cooked food, send disposable trays. Buy them an inexpensive pot as a present. Contribute ingredients. Show up with generosity, yes, but do not send out the vessels that regularly hold the nourishment of your own house. And if you already have, do not act powerless. Wash them well. Boil water in them. Let the steam rise. Let that moment become a reset. Mark the vessel again as belonging to your home, your table, your peace. That action matters, not because the pot is magical, but because homes run on repeated acts of order. Disorder enters through carelessness. Order returns through intention. And if this still sounds too simple, let me say this clearly. Households do not usually fall apart in one dramatic explosion. They weaken through little permissions, a crack here, a compromise there, a borrowed item, a borrowed energy, a borrowed burden. Then one day, people wonder why the kitchen no longer feels like the center of peace. Stay with me, because the next one is even more personal. And for many people, it's the point where everything suddenly clicks. The third thing you should never lend is your personal bed or your personal bedding, your pillow, your blanket, your sheets, the items that hold your body during sleep. This one surprises people because it seems normal to share bedding. Guests come over, a relative stays for a while, someone needs a blanket, someone borrows a pillow. It feels like basic hospitality. But sleep is not a casual state. Sleep is one of the most vulnerable states a human being enters every day. It is when the body softens, the guard drops, the mind loosens its grip, and the inner world becomes open. Your bed is where your exhaustion lands. Your dreams pass through. Your fears surface. Your prayers sometimes happen in whispers no one else hears. Your pillow holds tears people never saw. Your blanket wraps around anxious nights, hopeful nights, grieving nights, healing nights. These things are not neutral after repeated use. They become intimate containers. So when another person sleeps in your bedding for an extended time, especially someone carrying deep turmoil, fear, resentment, chaos, or heartbreak, they are not just borrowing fabric. They are leaving imprint. And when you use those same items again, you may feel the difference without knowing why. Rest becomes harder. Heavy dreams increase. The bedroom feels unsettled. Even relationships begin to strain because the place meant for renewal has become mixed with another person's emotional weather. This is why wise households keep a separation between personal bedding and guest bedding. Hospitality does not require self-exposure. Kindness does not require exchanging the most intimate layer of the home. There are people who can point to the exact season when peace in their marriage shifted, sleep became strange, or pressure started building for no clear reason. And if you look closely, that season often involved someone else moving into their room, staying in their bed, or using their bedding for a prolonged time. Again, not because fabric itself is alive, but because repeated human experience leaves trace. Your room should be your reset point. Your bed should be sacred to your own renewal. If guests come, keep a separate guest set. Store it separately. Wash it after use. Let your own sleep space remain your own sleep space. And if someone going through serious hardship has been using your personal bedding, start fresh if you can. Replace what needs to be replaced. Reclaim the room. Air it out. Clean it deeply. Make the space yours again. Do not underestimate how much the bedroom affects the rest of life. A person who cannot rest clearly often cannot think clearly. A person who cannot think clearly makes poor financial choices, reacts faster, worries more, and brings that strain into every conversation. So yes, this connects to prosperity too, because prosperity is not only cash in a bank. It is peace in the nervous system. It is clarity in the mind. It is unity in the home. If your place of rest has become contaminated by borrowed heaviness, deal with that first. And now notice the pattern forming. The table, the stove, the bed, food, preparation, rest. These are not random things. They are the core functions of a stable home. Which brings us to the next object people lend all the time while assuming they are doing something holy. The fourth thing you should never lend is your personal prayer book, your marked up scripture, or the sacred text you return to again and again in your private life. I am not talking about buying a fresh copy for someone. That can be beautiful. I am talking about your own copy, the one you have carried through grief, fear, gratitude, confession, hope, and quiet mornings when you needed strength. A personal sacred book becomes personal because of use. The pages you return to hold memory. The margins may hold notes. Certain lines are underlined because they carried you through a dark season. Some pages may have tears that dried years ago. Some words may have been whispered when nobody else was in the room. That kind of book is no longer just paper and print. It becomes part of your inner altar. It carries your rhythm of devotion, your private wrestling, your repeated turning toward what is higher. When you hand that to someone else for weeks or months, you are not simply sharing words. You are interrupting a personal channel. You are sending out something that has been shaped by your spiritual life and inviting it to absorb another person's fear, desperation, confusion, or instability. Then it returns, and the connection no longer feels the same. People describe it as dryness, distance, a strange hollowness where warmth used to be. Not because the book lost power, but because what was deeply personal was made common in a careless way. Some things can be shared best by giving, not lending. If someone you care about is struggling and asks for something sacred to hold on to, help them. Absolutely help them. But do it wisely. Buy them their own copy. Write a loving note inside. Give them something new that starts with blessing, not with borrowed intimacy. Let their relationship grow in its own way instead of resting on the object that has been carrying yours. This principle matters far beyond religion. People who keep any kind of private journal, handwritten affirmations, personal devotional notes, or marked texts usually feel uncomfortable when others handle them too freely. That discomfort exists for a reason. The inner life needs borders. Once those borders collapse, the person often feels diffuse, disconnected, and strangely exposed. So keep your personal sacred texts close. Teach from them if you want. Read aloud from them. Share the wisdom in conversation. But protect the physical copy that has become woven into your private life. By now you can probably see the deeper law under all of this. Not everything that is good to give is good to lend. Lending creates return. Return creates reentry. And reentry is where many people unknowingly bring back heaviness they never meant to host. But there is one last thing, and this final one may be the most common, the most dangerous, and the most misunderstood, because it involves something everybody thinks they already understand: money. The fifth thing you should never lend carelessly is money to family or close friends without clear terms, clear timing, and clear agreement. Notice the word carelessly. Helping people financially is not wrong. In many situations, it is necessary, compassionate, and deeply honorable. But unclear money between close relationships has destroyed more peace than many people are willing to admit. Someone asks for help. The story is urgent. Emotions are high. You do not want to seem cold. So you say yes quickly. No amount is written down. No repayment date is discussed. Nobody wants the moment to feel awkward. Then time passes. Weeks turn into months. The borrower avoids the topic because they feel pressure. The lender avoids the topic because they feel embarrassed. Silence grows. Resentment grows faster. Family gatherings become tense. Simple conversations feel loaded. The money is still unpaid, but now something worse has been lost too. Trust, ease, affection, respect. This is why wise people say that when it comes to lending money to loved ones, kindness without structure can become cruelty in slow motion. If you are able to give the money freely and truly release it, then call it a gift and let it be a gift. Do not quietly expect repayment later. That hidden expectation is poison. But if you cannot afford to lose it, then lend it properly. Write it down. Be specific. Name the amount. Name the repayment plan. Name the dates. Do it calmly and with dignity. Boundaries do not weaken love, they protect it. The damage from careless money is not only financial, it changes the emotional air of the whole home. The person who gave begins to replay the decision, question their own judgment, and carry irritation into daily life. The person who borrowed begins to feel shame and may withdraw, lie, delay, or avoid. One unclear agreement becomes a secret pressure system that keeps producing conflict. This is why some households remain peaceful even while helping many people, while other households seem constantly fractured by financial drama. The difference is not generosity, it is structure. A gift is a closed hand opening. A clear loan is a defined path. But an undefined loan is a fog, and people get lost in fog. So if someone close to you needs money, pause before answering. Ask yourself one honest question. If this never comes back, will I still have peace? If the answer is yes, give what you can as a gift and release it fully. If the answer is no, then do not perform generosity with your mouth while quietly planting bitterness in your heart. Set terms. Protect both sides. There is nothing unloving about clarity. In fact, clarity is one of the purest forms of love because it refuses to create traps disguised as help. And remember, this entire conversation has not been about becoming hard, selfish, suspicious, or cold. It has been about keeping your home from becoming spiritually and emotionally porous. A house with no boundaries does not become holy. It becomes exhausted. Now bring all 5 together and look at the pattern. Salt, cookware, bedding, personal sacred texts, money without terms. On the surface, they seem unrelated, but they all sit close to the same truth. They each touch one of the pillars that keep a household stable: the table, the kitchen, the bed, the inner life, the family bond, nourishment, preparation, rest, prayer, trust. When those pillars are protected, the home feels anchored. When those pillars are handled carelessly, the home begins to leak from multiple directions at once. Maybe not in one day, maybe not in one obvious event, but slowly, quietly, repeatedly. And that is why people miss it. They wait for a dramatic warning sign, while the real damage arrives through ordinary habits that seem too small to matter. But ordinary habits create extraordinary outcomes. That is true in success, and it is also true in decline. So do not dismiss this because the items sound simple. Foundations are always simple. A hinge is simple until a door comes off. A key is simple until you are locked out. A small leak is simple until the whole wall is ruined. If you have felt for a long time that your home has been carrying unnecessary weight, maybe this is the reset you needed. Maybe your breakthrough does not begin with earning more. Maybe it begins with closing what should never have been left open. And if that lands with you, keep listening, because what matters now is not just what to stop lending, but what to do next. If you have already lent these things before, do not let guilt take over. Guilt drains energy and solves nothing. What matters is correction. Start with awareness. Look around your house and identify what belongs firmly to the core life of your home. Protect it. Reclaim it. Replace what needs replacing. Clean what needs cleansing. Separate guest items from personal items. Put order back into the spaces that sustain you. If you have been casually handing out kitchen basics, stop and shift to gifting when you want to help. If your cookware has been circulating between homes, bring it back under your own rhythm and use it intentionally. If your bedding has been shared, reset your sleep space and guard it more seriously. If your private spiritual materials have been passed around, bring that boundary back and help others with new copies instead. If money has been creating tension, clean that up with truth, clarity, and courage. One conversation can stop years of silent resentment. One written agreement can save a relationship that would otherwise rot from the inside. And one important reminder here: protecting your home is not selfish. It is responsible. People who do not protect their peace eventually have less peace to give. People who do not protect their resources eventually have less help to offer. People who do not protect the atmosphere of their own house eventually become too depleted to bless anyone else. So this is not about closing your heart. It is about closing the wrong doors so the right things can stay. Peace, order, rest, clarity, love, and provision. And let me add one more layer, because this is where many people get confused. They think the answer to these warnings is to become suspicious of everyone. That's not the lesson. The lesson is discernment. You can still be generous. You can still open your hand. You can still help people in real, meaningful ways. But instead of lending the things that sit at the center of your household, give from the edges with wisdom. Cook and deliver the meal instead of sending the pot. Buy a new blanket instead of giving your own pillow. Purchase a prayer book instead of passing on your personal one. Offer a gift instead of a vague loan. Create hospitality that does not cost your household its anchor. This is how strong homes remain warm without becoming weak. This is how a person stays kind without becoming drained. This is how generosity becomes sustainable instead of self-destructive. And if any part of this made you uncomfortable, good. Sometimes discomfort is simply recognition arriving before language catches up. Sometimes you have felt the truth of something long before you could explain it. Maybe now you can explain it. Maybe now you can make changes. Maybe now you can stop apologizing for boundaries that protect your home. Because not every open hand is wise, and not every refusal is cruel. Some refusals are sacred. Some boundaries are blessings in disguise. Some no answers are the very things keeping your life from unraveling. So from this day forward, be conscious of what leaves your home and what returns to it. Pay attention to the objects that touch your food, your sleep, your devotion, your trust, and your family peace. Stop treating everything as interchangeable. It is not. Homes have memory. Habits have consequence. Repetition creates atmosphere, and the smallest shifts practiced consistently can change the entire emotional and financial climate of a household over time. If your home has felt heavy, fractured, dry, or constantly strained, do not ignore the practical side of life, but do not ignore the invisible side either. Both matter. The strongest households honor both. They work hard, yes. They budget, yes. They plan, yes. But they also guard what should be guarded. They understand that peace is built intentionally and lost carelessly. And that's the heart of this message. Not fear, not superstition. Awareness, order, protection. If you needed this, take it seriously. Rewatch it in your mind. Walk through your house with new eyes. Notice what has become too casual. Notice what must become intentional again, because the blessing of a home is rarely destroyed in one moment. It is usually worn down by 1,000 little permissions. Shut the wrong doors, strengthen the right ones, protect the center of your house. And you may be surprised how much lighter life begins to feel when what was leaking is finally sealed. If you want, I can also turn this into an even more cinematic voiceover version with stronger retention lines and a darker, viral YouTube style while keeping the same message and length.